The painting opens with Prometheus recounting the tale of Zeus, the chief among the gods. Zeus starts his day by engaging with mortals, wishing to maintain their reverence as in the past. Prometheus, however, is acutely aware of Zeus' corruption and schemes to unseat him, which will require the aid of 3 individuals. The first of these is Eurydice, or Rid-Di, who resides in Crete and is discontent with her life. One day, while outside a shop, a woman approaches her, and through her murmuring, Rid-Di realizes it is Cassandra. Cassandra laments her unacknowledged prophecies and forewarns that Riddi's life will change by the day's end. Back on Olympus, Zeus senses a disturbance with the divine spring. Hera, his wife, reassures him that all is well. He then reflects on his son, Dionysus, who is currently celebrating in an earthly club but later wanders the city. A food vendor suggests he give his father a watch to symbolize time itself. Despite Hera's objections stemming from her anger over Dionysus' mortal mother, whom she transformed into a bead, Dionysus decides to bring the watch to Zeus. As Zeus observes a ceremony revealing his statue in Crete, one of the women present sacrifices herself to the gods. When Dionysus presents the watch to his father, Zeus shows little excitement, as he already possesses a lucky watch from Heracles. He disregards Dionysus' requests to take a more active role in the world's governance. Frustrated by Hera's unkind remarks, Dionysus swipes Heracles' watch and departs. Zeus is absorbed in the statue's ceremony until the veil is drawn back, revealing a destroyed statue smeared with filth and the phrase "To hell with the gods" inscribed on it. Minos, the president of Crete, erupts in rage, while Zeus vows to enact vengeance, despite Hera's suggestion that Poseidon should handle the situation. Rid-Di returns home to find Orpheus strumming his guitar. He informs her that he plans to start his concert at the palace tonight with a new song dedicated to her. Rid-Di resents the idea, feeling as though he is making their relationship public without her consent, but she lacks the energy to object at this moment. Later, Orpheus' manager takes him to Heracleion. On Olympus, Zeus is fuming about what he witnessed and suddenly notices a wrinkle on his forehead. He teleports Prometheus to him, who reassures Zeus that he cannot be destroyed. However, once back on his rock, the vendor gives Dionysus fresh advice. He suggests that Dionysus should seek his own purpose rather than live to please his father. In Heracleion, Orpheus readies himself for the performance, confident that Eurydice will appear soon. Rid-Di, on the other hand, visits Hera's temple to communicate with Hera's mute servant, Tassata, who also happens to be her mother. As Orpheus begins his show with a heartfelt song about his love for Eurydice, Rid-Di confesses in the temple that she no longer holds love for him. Her mother abandoned her for a life dedicated to Hera, and Rid-Di dismisses the gods and their prophecies. The crowd delights in Orpheus' performance just as Dionysus teleports to Heracleion to hear him sing. Leaving the temple, Rid-Di encounters Cassandra again, halting in the road, only to be struck by a truck. Meanwhile, Tassata reveals to Rid-Di the prophecy that coincides with Zeus' own, though Prometheus asserts there cannot be 2 identical prophecies. Orpheus is soon informed of Eurydice's demise while Cassandra and Tassata watch her body being taken away. Later, Dionysus attends the funeral and witnesses Orpheus, distraught, giving a coin to the priest to place in Eurydice's mouth for her passage into the afterlife. Dionysus realizes this is his calling, to help Orpheus. Yet Orpheus gets intoxicated, buys a gun, and heads to the beach with the intent to take his own life, accidentally shooting Dionysus in the process. Orpheus panics, but Dionysus reveals that he is a god, immune to injury. Prometheus' voice echoes the reminder that Zeus wasn't always divine and can still be vulnerable to mortals. Meanwhile, Rid-Di finds herself aboard a ferry in a black and white underworld. 10 years prior, the Amazon queen had hunted down Kenus, who had escaped from their tribe, only to witness his mother, Marina, among his killers. Presently, Orpheus awakens after a night of revelry with Dionysus, who assures him he can bring Rid-Di back to life. At the same time, Rid-Di traverses the river Styx, viewing a presentation by Hades and Persephone on the passageway needed for rebirth. Soon after, Zeus summons the guardians of the underworld to boost the number of souls helping others transition through the passage. Dionysus showcases his prowess by driving recklessly, while Riddi's ferry docks, and handlers await with Cerberus dogs. One dog barks at Rid-Di, and its handler, Kenus, plucks her from the crowd. In this liminal realm, Kenus believes he will remain a guide, but Medusa announces his assignment to join the swimmers. He does not wish for this, as he is still awaiting his mother. His companion, Prio, is ecstatic, particularly when Medusa reveals one of her snakes, now harmless as they are deceased. Dionysus takes Orpheus to a bar known as the Cave, a place where one might access the underworld. Meanwhile, Zeus descends to earth, strolling through the city and noticing the contented, cheerful populace. He calls for Prometheus and admits his fears about his waning power, insisting it should return to the days of fear and respect toward him. To achieve this, he plans to annihilate half the world, though Prometheus advises against it. In the meantime, Riddai discovers she was interred without a coin, meaning she cannot cross through the passage to be reborn. Consequently, she must remain in the underworld for 200 years before she might have another opportunity to traverse the Lethe. Meanwhile, Orpheus learns that the Moirai, the Fates, will judge those seeking to resurrect loved ones. In the first trial, people must identify every distinguishing mark, scar, and birthmark of their deceased loved ones on a mannequin. Simultaneously, Medusa takes the new divers to the Lethe, where the glowing passage awaits. They are to assist souls in making their way to it for rebirth. Back in the cave, Orpheus faces a couple mourning the loss of their child. The heartbroken parents perform a poignant pantomime expressing their love, leaving Orpheus feeling inadequate. He is prompted to sing of his beloved, but he has lost his voice. He sits down at the instrument. Riddai, meanwhile, reaches the river but finds she cannot immerse herself in the Lethe without her coin. After Orpheus finishes playing, he earns applause, yet fate punishes him by stabbing his hand with a knife, revealing that he took his wife's coin, thus denying Riddai her chance at renewal. He claims his act was out of love, but the audience, including Dionysus, is horrified by his selfishness. As a result, the grieving parents, Anatole and Clara, ultimately win the trial and gain access to the underworld. At the riverbank, Canus catches up with Riddai, revealing that he too was buried without a coin, which his mother took. Dionysus pleads with the Fates to allow Orpheus entry into the underworld, and they agree, but only in exchange for Zeus' watch. Meanwhile, Zeus confides in Prometheus his strategy to narrate mortal stories in the vein of the Trojan War, instigating hatred. This will incite a grand conflict, but Prometheus warns him about his lost watch, now considered his lucky charm. Zeus then resolves to locate the watch first.
As this transpires, Dionysus offers the watch to the Fates. On Earth, the Furies roam, executing justice upon the unpunished. They remain invisible to the innocent, with only the condemned able to see them. Currently,
they compel a guilty man to take his own life in a roadside cafe restroom before moving on to their next target, Ari, who unintentionally strangled her twin brother in her sleep. The grief from Ari's mother over her son is palpable, leading Daedalus to create a sculpture of Glaucus each year, portraying how he might have appeared had he lived. Ari's father, President Minos, vows to fulfill any request his daughter has, despite her rejection of gifts annually. Her bodyguard, Theseus, overhears this exchange. During the Olympia Day festivities in Crete, the family witnesses the defiled statue of the gods, a product of Theseus' involvement. Enraged, Minos is inconsolable, and Ari helps her distraught mother back to their room. Meanwhile, on Olympus, Zeus, suspecting one of the servants for the missing watch, begins executing them one by one. Hera informs Poseidon of Zeus' destructive plans for humanity and requests his assistance in recovering the lost watch. Prometheus recalls his past action of killing Charon, but only after securing a promise from him to assist anyone arriving in search of help. The Fates, having received Zeus' watch, permit Orpheus to cross into the underworld through a garbage container. He teams up with Anatole, who is searching for his son, and they enter a black and white realm. Though Anatole feels reluctant to converse with Orpheus, who is guilty of a grievous act by taking his wife's coin, Orpheus argues he acted from a place of love. The two agree to travel together. Meanwhile, Canus visits his dog, Photis, releasing him from captivity as the dog bounds away. Hades and Persephone soon discover an escaped soul from the underworld, leading them to worry about the potential repercussions. Persephone urges Hades not to inform Zeus about this just yet. While seeking Photis, Canus stumbles upon Nax, who seeks help, mentioning he has already swum through the passage. Suddenly, someone calls to Canus, causing Nax to vanish. During dinner, Riddai joins Canus and Prio, announcing her new role as a swimmer. She expresses confusion about why they continue to eat and sleep when they are already dead. The others explain it's a means of feeling normal. Later, Prio invites everyone to celebrate the new swimmers. On Earth, Poseidon accuses Dionysus of stealing Zeus' watch. Dionysus admits to bringing a mortal into the underworld, who will be the first to resurrect someone from the dead. Poseidon warns that if this occurs, it may incite Zeus' fury against them all, urging Dionysus to return the watch. In the underworld, as Orpheus and Anatole prepare to navigate the Styx again, Charon approaches and reluctantly agrees to ferry them across. At the same time, Canus encounters his predator, Hippolyta too, at the shore. In fear, he turns away, but she accuses him of heresy and tells him that his mother willingly surrendered him. Dionysus finds a duplicate of Zeus' watch in a store and heads to Mount Olympus, unwittingly substituting it. Zeus doesn't notice the change. Conversely, Canus wrestles with the distress caused by his mother's betrayal, a source of long-standing anxiety. Abruptly, Charon halts the boat, revealing that only one soul can proceed. Therefore, a duel will determine who it will be. Orpheus attacks Anatole at this moment. Canus confesses to Rid-Dai that he once identified as an Amazon, born female but later ostracized. Their conversation is interrupted when they hear Nax calling for help. As Anatole almost bests Orpheus, Charon intervenes, seeing the fates mark on Orpheus' hand. She casts Anatole overboard, and he vanishes into the Scylla. Alongside Rid-Dai, Canus observes as Dionysus shares his revenge plans against humanity with Zeus. They descend to Earth, where Zeus expresses gratitude to Dionysus for returning the watch, hoping for his son's aid in instilling fear in mortals through disasters and conflicts. Though reluctantly, Dionysus complies, understanding the gods' indifference toward humanity. In the meantime, Hades receives notification that an influx of new souls is imminent. It follows shortly after that the missing soul has been captured, as Charon and Orpheus arrive at the shore greeted by a message of gratitude from Prometheus. Observing from the sidelines, Rid-Dai and Canus see Nax being cornered in a dungeon, prompting them to tread cautiously in pursuit, discovering the empty shells of all souls who have undergone the passage, including those they dispatched earlier. Now the moment arises for Prometheus to clarify everything. Zeus had punished him for opposing him. Before his imprisonment, the Lady of the Fates requested that Prometheus kill the one person who trusted him implicitly, Charon. Additionally, he needed to win Zeus' trust by submitting to his punishment and accepting his fate. All went according to plan. At the same time, the Furies isolate Ari in a hotel, where she maintains her innocence regarding her brother's death. However, the Furies do not seek to punish her, but rather to unveil the truth. Poseidon visits her father, proclaiming a prophecy that he would meet his end at the hands of his firstborn. Ari resists accepting this revelation, even when shown evidence of the child being handed to Daedalus to be murdered. The Furies remind her of the Trojan massacre, but Ari re-enters the palace without revealing what she has learned. While Minos is relieved to see her safe, Ari is left questioning everything. Later that night, Ari confronts Daedalus, who reluctantly admits that he disobeyed her father's orders and did not kill Glaucus, who is instead trapped in the dungeon but has lost his human form, now the Minotaur. Simultaneously, Zeus and Dionysus delight in watching the news coverage of various natural disasters unfolding across the land. Later, Zeus ventures into Hera's domain, where she stores the tongues and prayers of her worshippers. Inadvertently, he overhears her committing infidelity. In pursuit of the truth, he tortures one of her servants, who refuses to betray Hera and consequently dies. Hera, discovering this confrontation, asks to see the tongue which revealed her betrayal, but Zeus cannot locate it among the countless others and falls prey to her reassurances of loyalty. Calming his anger, Hera leaves Zeus in bed, grieving the loss of her faithful servant. Concurrently, Rid-Dai and Canus persist in their quest for Nax, only to find he has been seized by Hades, who extracts Nax's soul. This event causes Rid-Dai immense pain, compelling them to retreat to the surface, where Medusa spots them. Rid-Dai struggles to understand why Canus remains unaffected by their experiences, leading her to bid him farewell. Orpheus awakens on a deserted shore. Simultaneously, Dionysus learns within a cave that Orpheus has successfully crossed the Styx. Charon denies Orpheus water, reminding him that his final trial awaits, requiring him to undertake it alone. Rid-Dai, still anguished by the loss of Nax, confides in Canus about her mother's transformation into a servant at the age of 5. She resisted this truth and cursed the gods endlessly, which perhaps explains her current suffering. Canus reveals his story as well. In his tribe, boys who reach adulthood must leave the Amazon territory or face execution. His best friend attempted to return to plead for readmission but was tragically slain before his eyes. His own mother had known of his rebirth, her prophecy celebrating the birth of a boy while she rejoiced over having a girl. However, confronting the truth of the gods' deception, Canus harbors resentment toward them too. Upon realizing their shared sentiments, Rid-Dai kisses him. Meanwhile, Orpheus treks through a desolate landscape, enduring thirst and heat. Persephone insists Hades relay the truth to Zeus, as the transition realm risks becoming overloaded with souls. Zeus consults Prometheus again, understanding that the issue isn't with mortals. He resolves to obliterate the fates, the source of his ominous prophecies. Prometheus cautions him that such an act may result in worldwide destruction, including his own demise, using Minos, a man who defies his prophecy, as an example. However, Zeus retorts that Glaucus could strike first and kill Minos at any moment. He proposes that should a father kill his son, it would invalidate the prophecy, thereby establishing a challenger. Simultaneously, Rid-Dai and Canus come to understand that they share the same fate. Rid-Dai recalls her encounter with Cassandra and recognizes that the narratives surrounding the rebirth of those passing through the frame are deceitful. People devote their lives to the gods, yearning for a better existence while their souls dissolve into the waters of meander, consumed by the gods for their immortality. In an urgent moment, Hades and Persephone arrive at Zeus' domain, publicly declaring the impending instability of the transitional world, which threatens disaster if souls cease to return to life. In a fit of rage, Zeus hurls Hades into a pool and strikes him with lightning. Meanwhile, Orpheus struggles forward through the scorching desert, hallucinating and consuming sand, mistaking it for water. Persephone, realizing Hades still lives, vows vengeance against Zeus. In response, Zeus commands Poseidon to ensure that Minos follows through with killing his son. Poseidon approaches the Fates, who affirm that some individuals can defy prophesied outcomes. Hera entreats Zeus not to act like his father, Cronus. Zeus, who had witnessed Cronus' tyranny as a child, ultimately killed him, yet never comprehended how he achieved such a feat. The Fates compel Minos to slay his son, and if he hesitates, Ari is condemned to suffering. As Orpheus nears a water cooler, a man offers him water, threatening that drinking will mean he cannot resuscitate his wife. Despite nearing death from dehydration, Orpheus declines the offer, realizing this is his final trial. Upon succeeding, he finds a door leading him to a city filled with life. The first thing he does is race to a water faucet, where Prue and her partner, upon recognizing him as Riddy's husband, offer their assistance to reunite him with her. As Orpheus holds her close in front of Kenus, he struggles to express his true feelings. On Earth, learning of Orpheus' completion of all trials, Dionysus turns to Poseidon for guidance but inadvertently catches him in a compromising scenario with Hera. Meanwhile, Medusa informs Charon of a newcomer bearing the mark in the underworld, confirming Prometheus' reliability. Marina, stepping outside her trailer, observes Riddy's mother with a sign proclaiming, "Today is the day." Quietly, she approaches a grave prepared for her, lying inside, placing a coin in her mouth before triggering her gun. At this moment, Orpheus expresses his regrets to Riddy for taking her coin and hindering her rebirth, explaining that he acted from love and has come to restore her life. Nevertheless, Riddy hesitates, feeling a conversation with Hades is inevitable. Medusa, however, informs Riddy that they have awaited her arrival, anticipating a shift in power. At the same time, Zeus is having a family dinner while witnessing Minos murder his. Daedalus explains to Ari how Glaucus became the Minotaur. The boy spent his days in darkness, utterly alone. The guards were not permitted to speak to him, and over time, he lost his sanity, becoming more beast than child. His violent outbursts towards the jailers inspired Minos to transform his son into a weapon. Daedalus crafted a horned mask for him, turning him into a creature that devoured criminals. Yet, he treated Daedalus with more kindness than anyone else. Hearing this, Ari insists on being taken to see her brother. Meanwhile, Kenos is trying to persuade Riddy to join Orpheus and uncover the truth about the realm of the dead. As Medusa guides Orpheus to Hades, the Lord of the Underworld refuses to let them return to Earth, even offering to take his wife's place willingly. Medusa is left despondent by this turn of events. Persephone voices her disapproval, noting that bringing a dead man back to life could not be overlooked by Zeus. Nevertheless, Hades insists that some matters must remain untouched, assuring her that he would find a method to restore the souls. Believing herself justified, Persephone acts in secret to send Riddy and Orpheus back to Earth. Simultaneously, Daedalus leads Ari into the Minotaur's dungeon, but Minos is intent on releasing Glaucus from his cell to kill him with Hera's knife. Realizing this, Daedalus attempts to pull Ari away, but Glaucus attacks and kills him while she tries to flee. Minos enters the labyrinth as Ari finds herself trapped by Glaucus. She speaks to him, and the creature hesitates to harm her. Horrified by her father's actions, Ari removes his mask, revealing the monster's true identity. In that moment, Minos arrives, and after a brief struggle, he kills Glaucus, much to the delight of Zeus and the other gods. Meanwhile, Medusa informs Riddy that the underworld's basement is termed nothingness. Though she is unsure of what happens to the souls there, she believes Riddy can halt it by exposing everything to the world. She leads Riddy to Persephone, where Orpheus is already present. At the same time, Minos tells Ari that he has done everything to safeguard their family, yet she realizes that her father has misinterpreted the prophecy. Although Glaucus was born first, he did not take a breath, while Ari cried out immediately. Explaining this to her father, she retaliates by killing Minos with the same knife he used against her brother. Zeus faints in disbelief. Later, he regains consciousness, shocking him with the realization that Minos is dead. The prophecy has come true, and he must prevent another prophecy from unfolding. Meanwhile, Persephone finds Hades is missing. Hera demands their presence on Olympus. Hades confides in Medusa about his plan for restoring the underworld. On Earth, Zeus visits the Moirais cave, where they clarify that for his prophecy to materialize, he must believe in it. Regardless, Zeus plans to eliminate them. The Moirai accept their fate, assisting Zeus in their demise. They drench themselves in flammable liquid as Zeus ignites a match. Before they perish, they return Zeus's watch, confessing they received it from Dionysus. The cave goes up in flames, leaving Prometheus in shock. In the meantime, before heading back to Earth, Riddy confesses to Orpheus her feelings for Keneus, explaining the coin was irrelevant. She had intended to leave Orpheus due to her unhappiness before she died. Nevertheless, they still have an opportunity to begin anew and continue their journey. Ceneus rushes to the frame to prevent anyone else from crossing, only to suddenly see his mother. Meanwhile, Hades delves into nothingness, trying unsuccessfully to restore Naxa's soul. Ceneus accuses Marina of betrayal, but she maintains she only brought the Amazons to him to fulfill his destiny, guiding him through the frame after waiting 10 years. Ceneus asserts that the gods deceived them, and no one returns to Earth. Despite this, Marina steps into Lethe. Ceneus dives in after her, only to feel himself sinking into the water. He catches up with his mother, and they both vanish into the frame. Prometheus is puzzled as the prophecy is not being fulfilled, and he remains imprisoned. Back on Olympus, Zeus distributes bottles of water from Meander to his family. Dionysus's bottle is only half full, and Persephone receives none, as Meander's consumption now hinges on their compliance. He declares he has destroyed the Fates, thus nullifying all prophecies. Dionysus admits that he gifted the watch to the Fates to enable a mortal to resurrect his wife. Persephone counters, revealing that Orpheus has died. As a punishment for disobedience, Zeus kills Dionysus's beloved kitten and incinerates Hera's bees, declaring she will no longer serve as the mother of his children. Suddenly, Poseidon confesses his love for Hera and requests her to leave with him, but she laughs at him. Nonetheless, Zeus dumps Poseidon's water and expels him. Zeus then announces he will rule not just Crete, but the underworld and everything beyond. Seeking to discuss the situation with Prometheus, Zeus finds that Prometheus has vanished the moment he insists he has never betrayed him. Meanwhile, Ari pulls Glaucus's body to the palace and shares the entire truth. Her mother, grieving over her son, supports her actions. Riddy and Orpheus manage to return to Earth, only to discover that the cave has vanished, but the car remains. Orpheus offers to drive Riddy into the city, but she declines. He apologizes for keeping her coin, to which she replies with gratitude for restoring her life and hugs him goodbye. Near Heraklion, Riddy encounters Cassandra, who informs her that she is now a prophet as well. Cassandra instructs Riddy to find Ari and liberate the living, while Ceneus will do the same for the dead. Simultaneously in nothingness, Ceneus's soul begins to regenerate. He awakens beside his mother, who opens her eyes, whispering the word chaos. Prometheus finds himself on Olympus, where the unseen fates await him, explaining that they cannot be killed, and according to the prophecy, he is now granted freedom. Zeus confronts Prometheus on his throne, yet despite his efforts, he cannot send him back to his rock. Moreover, he abruptly notices a cut on his hand, even though gods do not bleed. The flow of Meander ceases, indicating Zeus is no longer a god. Hera calls someone using a payphone, instructing them to gather a team and prepare a free bed, as she embarks on her journey with her Tacitus. Hades asks how it is possible for Ceneus to restore human souls. Prometheus cautions Zeus of the impending chaos. Ari meets with Andromeda to discuss the revival of Troy and the downfall of Olympus. Dionysus gazes at his half-full bottle. Chaos is the highlight of August, particularly for those captivated by Greek mythology. It's a unique and vivid reinterpretation of ancient myths, where the heroes from long ago are transported into the modern age. The conclusion leaves a feeling of incompleteness, sparking hope for a sequel.